Ready to go. Hey, hi, I'm Rick Davis, founder and CEO of Coffee Equipment Pros and North American distributor of the incredible Air-Motion Roaster. Thanks for taking your time this weekend. We know how important it is, and we'll do our best to keep on track and wrap this up in about 90 minutes. We're also recording this, and we'll make it available next week. We're super excited for you today as we take it through a global first of live coffee roasting facilitated by Julian Platt, founder of the Air-Motion Roaster. It'll be an informal time, and we'll have some fun in the process. So why are we doing this? Well, in my career, I've seen many brands and types of roasters, but a few years ago, when experiencing these machines in action, then tasting the coffee they roasted, it was all over. The incredible innovation, the simplicity of use, and the amazing roast won us over. We've been representing Air-Motion Roasters ever since, and we want everyone to know about them. We're bringing this brand to the SCA in April next year, but here's your first look. In this call, we're going to provide an overview of the Air-Motion Roaster components. We're going to do an actual live roast on this 12-kilo Air-Motion Roaster, and we're going to do a question and answer session. And to stay on track, we've turned off video and microphones, but we welcome your participation, and we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end. But if something inspires you, feel free to type it in the chat window, and you can open that up by clicking the chat icon at the lower part of your navigation strip. Or you can call me right after the event, too. So we're here at Skyrocket Coffee today with Chris and Crystal Green, proud owners of not only one, but two Air-Motion Roasters. Next to me is the 12-kilo AMR12, and behind me is its little brother, the 6-kilo AMR6. Now, I first connected with Chris and Crystal on December 26th of last year when they were researching coffee roasters and other equipment to build out what they have today, which is this incredible, and may I add, pristine coffee roastery that is eco-friendly all around. No fuel used here, and they use coffee roasters that output incredibly low emissions and incredibly low heat. Yes, the Air-Motion Roaster. Now, together we spec'd out some beautiful equipment that they purchased through Coffee Equipment Pros, which included an MPE GPX-WCI water-cooled industrial grinder, an action-pack wave-fill machine, match loader, and a vertical band sealer, a compact K-cup filling and sealing machine by High-Tech that we call the Mini, and an LG air compressor that's way back there, and a very special piece of equipment that was created here at Skyrocket Coffee, a fluid bed destoner that was modified by its manufacturer, AAE Coffee Loaders, Don Rainville, to work specifically with this Air-Motion Roaster. We call it the Air Sift, and you'll see that in action a bit later. If you want to read more about Skyrocket Coffee, in yesterday's email, we included a link to an article all about them that we just posted on our website. So let's take a look at the Air-Motion Roaster. Crystal Green, owner and roast master here at Skyrocket Coffee, is going to show us around the machine. Smiling. All right, here we go. Yeah. And flipping it around. There you go.
There we go. Okay.
All right. So the Air-Motion Roaster. This roaster's design overall is probably something like you've never seen before. It's incredibly functional and efficient with a very small footprint. And make no mistake, it's industrial in its build, and the design is proven to roast continually. Run it 12 hours a day, 4 roasts an hour, it'll just smile and ask for more. We have machines around the world that have been running for 3 years straight, putting out beautiful coffee on each roast. This machine can take less than 30 minutes to set up once popping it out of the crates. I call it plug and play as it is so easy to set up. So, side note is the 3-kilo roaster is actually on wheels, which allows it to be easily moved around for storing. and cleaning underneath, which is something that is in the world of food and beverage is important. This was a design element that Julian included for smaller shop roasters where they have to adhere to that food preparation and cleaning practice, as well as roasters that are in smaller spaces or even home use that need to move around their machines. Now, the actual roast chamber is securely positioned in the center around the stainless steel with master controls positioned in front for ease of use. The master controls consist of the start roast switch, which engages the heating element and starts the graph charting system on the LED screen. There is a preheat function, prime as it's called, to be used in case of colder climate conditions, assisting with the chamber warm-up on the first roast. The actual heating element control, which is also monitored by a percentage indicator on the LCD panel for accurate adjusting, is next. And then the main control is the blower bank adjustment, which controls the volume of air that enters into the roast chamber. Then you got the on-off switch for the cyclone, and then a water override mist switch that when activated turns on water over the chamber and stops the roast, turning off the heating element, and we'll get more into that water misting in a moment. There's an LED light to assist with seeing your roast in progress, and then there's an LCD touchscreen control panel that tracks and records your roast, as we'll see momentarily after she starts it up. The machine also connects to Cropster and Artisan if you're using it as a third-party roast profile software. Crystal, our roast master here at Skyrocket, uses Artisan on every roast that she actually does. Now on the side is that service access panel for the unique and powerful heating element. There it is. Now around back is the access panel for all the computer controls, the circuit breakers, and the plugs for the cooler and the cyclone are found down there at the bottom. There's your plug and play aspect right there. Roast chamber feeds the power to the cooler and the cyclone. Now here's one of the magical features. The roaster actually glides back and forth on rails, allowing access to the chamber for filling with green beans. There's something you've never seen before. As well as all interaction of your senses during the actual roast. This is why we call it open chamber roasting. Now I want to show you something that's very unique. That is the heating element that is actually inside this roaster. Right? I mean, its industrial design is incredible, with nichrome plated spiral coils that put out the necessary heat to run one of these machines. As mentioned before, we have roasters that have been running for years out there, and we revisited one of them, one of the very first ones ever commissioned, and we actually removed the heating element for inspection. It looked like it was commissioned that day. But just in case, we have replacement parts stock right here in the USA, as well as virtual tech support available and in person if required. Next is that powerful cyclone that has multiple functions. You'll notice up top is a powerful motor with an encased fan underneath. There's the secret to that guy. And the motor is controlled with a VFD, or a variable frequency drive, which supports not only multiple power configurations, but assists the cyclone in a beautiful, soft start and stop versus snapping on. Now the cyclone creates a necessary vacuum for moving air from the roast chamber, and with a simple redirect, the air required to cool the beans. What actually happens in that chamber is that the inhaling of all the exhaust and the chaff from the roast chamber goes right up during the roast. Along with the blower air coming from the bottom, there's another vortex of air created from the inside the chamber that moves the beans around into their swirling dance. There is a center-mounted spray nozzle for the water dousing feature, there it is, to assist the roast at the end to cool that chamber down. And an override water valve to allow for pre-check flow, or if needing manual operation. And around back is the water actuator inside its little protective connected little case there, and the exhaust port. There you go. Down at the bottom of one of the legs is the water intake connection. Very nicely styled, and the design goes right up inside the machine. Now the exhaust that comes out of the AMR is pretty amazing. That temperature, even though it's about 400, 450 degrees Fahrenheit in that roast chamber, the exiting air is only about 115 degrees. Now how can that even be? And it's due to that dilution of that intake air into that cyclone from the patented open chamber design that you're seeing right there. Now, I have a 3 kilo personally, and I do medium roasts with mainly Brazilian, Ethiopian, and anaerobic Costa Rican, and I rarely see any smoke exiting the ducting, and the smell of the coffee is diluted as well. I mean, it's just an amazing design. That cyclone can be optionally bolted down to the floor, which Chris here at Skyrocket Coffee chose to do, and we simply use redhead anchor bolts to put it in place. The last is that bean cooler, and to fulfill that trifecta of AMR features, it's full size, and it's pretty much standard with agitator arms to match the capacity of the roaster. Now, this is the same proven system working on the majority of typical drum roasters, not just a slide tray or a side tray or needing to use the actual roast chamber for a cool down period. This allows for fast cooling of the beans while simultaneously cooling the chamber in prep for the next roast. It takes about 2 to 3 minutes with the high volume of air this machine puts out. Now, remember I mentioned that unique stoner that was created here at Skyrocket Coffee. Chris is going to show you that fluid bed destoner box right there that quickly and easily connects to the vacuum system that she'll demonstrate later, which gently inhales the beans up and into the receiving chamber as they pass over the fluid bed destoning system created by Don Rainville of AAE Coffee Loaders. You'll see again this all in action. So there you go, the complete Air-Motion Roaster. Thanks, Crystal, for putting up with all that. Now let's meet its designer, Julian Platt, founder of Air-Motion Roasters. Now Julian's currently in Johannesburg, South Africa, home of the Air-Motion Roaster. And it's Sunday night, and we appreciate you jumping in and participating with us, Julian. So welcome, thanks for taking the time, and walk us through your beautiful Air-Motion Roaster. Julian?
Hi, everybody. Rick, I just want to thank you very much for this this amazing opportunity. It's an absolute dream come true, seeing one of our roasters being showcased in that beautiful setting there at Skyrocket Coffee Roasters. What an amazing job you guys have done there. Really, it's absolutely dreamy, that setup that you've helped put together for Crystal. Yes, I at the moment I'm speechless, just seeing this all rolling out in front of me. I was introduced to air roasting many years ago, and I got my first fluid bed roaster, and a very primitive machine, no controls, and all you could do on that was set a target temperature and switch the machine on, and it ran for 9 minutes and switched itself off. And that was it, and produced this amazing coffee. My wife and I, we owned a restaurant coffee shop, and we were going through 20,000 cups of coffee a month, 400 kilos of coffee in espresso-based drinks. And while I was roasting on this fluid bed roaster for 10 years, I started thinking to myself, why has air roasting never taken off like the mainstream drum roasters? And I started investigating the air roasting and why I was achieving these amazing results. But yes, but it wasn't the mainstream traditional type of roaster. And I got this crazy idea into my head that I need to take this beautiful technology that was presenting itself in front of me and take it to the next level. And I eventually, after 20 years, shut down our beautiful, successful artisan bakery and retail and this beautiful French bistro that we had with a coffee roastery. And I took this primitive machine and put it, and I took it into a factory with an electrical engineer and a mechanical engineer. And I sat there with them for a year putting on the table my wish list of how I could see this machine evolving into the future. And we sat there for a year, and absolutely, it took us a year to build our first prototype, where I wanted, first of all, aesthetics. It had to look sexy, which our machines undoubtedly have this amazing sex appeal to it. And then apart from that, I needed control of what I was doing in the roast. So in order to do that, create a touchscreen that would give us feedback in real time. And from that feedback, we would be able to manipulate and adjust the roast in real time as well. And that was the start. And we worked and worked and worked for a year, and came up with the prototype. And I must say that it has just given me so much pleasure that I have been able to change lives of so many people that have got involved with this roaster, where they have set up roasteries and businesses and become very successful at what they're doing in the coffee industry and loving every minute of it. I recently, 2 days ago, I did a roast, a training session with a chap in Dubai who is a seasoned master roaster on drum roasters. He's got 2 15-kilo drum roasters there that he works on, and he roasted on our roaster, and he, after many years of roasting on a drum roaster, turned around and said, "You guys have taken roasting and you've turned it on its head. The traditional method of roasting is to heat up a roast chamber. So you're starting with a high heat, you dump your beans in, and through the roast, you are decreasing the temperature. And at first crack, they usually switch their gas burners off and let the energy of the beans, the heat energy, take them through to the rest of the roast. So they're declining all the way through the roast. In our process, we start from an ambient temperature or a low temperature, and through the efficiency of the heat transfer in our machine, we take the heat up until our target temperature." And he said, this was absolutely amazing, mind-blowing. And I think it sparked a new interest in roasting for him, because after the roast, he was so enthusiastic, and I think he couldn't wait to get on to the next roast. And the training session was one roast, and he took over from there. And later on sent me videos of more roasts that he had done in that day. So yes, the technology of the machine, number one. Number two, the ease of use and the transfer of skills of this machine without any gimmicks. This has to be a roaster, and a true roaster that roasts coffee without any gimmicks, which takes that bean and gives it the heat that it requires to take it through every process and every phase in that roast, and then produce. And as he said, when the beans came out and he looked at them and there was no scorching or tipping or blotching of color, they came out picture perfect. And we just hope that he has a couple of days to wait for those beans to cure, to taste them. And that is the real test for us. We say it is all in the taste. So that is my dream, and I can see it rolling out right in front of me. And I'm so proud of this moment. And thank you, Rick, for giving me this opportunity and giving everybody else that's involved this afternoon with the opportunity, and wish Crystal everything of the best and the best of luck with her beautiful roastery. And yes, I can't wait to do a live roast with Crystal on her beautiful machine.
Right on. Let's do it.
Do you want to follow me around for the turn on and everything?
You betcha. I'm going to replace Julian here. And I'm going to bring me on. All right. Here we go. Master power switch. LED coming on. Turns her water on. So Crystal, which is so diligent, checks her water spray every roast, every day. So she makes sure she's got a water, and she's turning on the manual control there, make sure she's got a clean spray. All right. I find it interesting every day how she makes a decision of which roaster to play with. So she's going to be putting 25 pounds, I think, 12 kilo? Yep. So notice here she's going to pull back that chamber. It gives it a little air. Julian, feel free to comment. Soft air start.
Well, first of all, if you look into the light there, Rick, as Crystal is pouring the beans into the roast chamber, can you see the dust coming off the beans and being extracted out of the roast chamber by the extraction hood? So what we do is we clean our beans before we roast, so that there's no chance of that dust at very high temperature igniting, causing smoke, and infusing back into the beans. So the first phase of cleaning the beans has just happened, and now Crystal is putting a lid on the roast chamber, turning up the blower fans, and you can see in the light there that we are continuing to clean those beans, and the rest of the dust is coming off the beans and is being sucked up through the extraction hood. So once Crystal is happy that those beans have been cleaned, she will then start her roast. So what Crystal has done now is the roast has now started, and Crystal has lowered the beans 1/3 down the roast chamber and has removed the lid. Why we remove the lid is because the first part of the roast process is to put some heat into those beans, and because we want those beans to expand and to loosen the chaff that's on the beans, and then for our extraction to extract the chaff out of the roast chamber. And with the lid on, that chaff would block the holes of the lid. So we need a clear path for that chaff to come off into our extraction. Why do we want to get the the chaff to come off the beans at the stage, because our first part of the roast process is the drying phase or the yellowing phase. So why do we call it the drying phase? Because our beans have a certain amount of moisture, up to 14–15% moisture in the beans, and we need to remove that moisture out of the beans in the first phase of the roast, so that we, after that, can caramelize sugars and get amino acids activated and chemicals are activated and carbohydrates activated, and they can't activate until the moisture is extracted from the bean. So that is what we are doing now. It is called the drying phase. We will start seeing some chaff, as I can see there in the roast chamber, some chaff coming with the beans, and that's been sucked away with extraction. Drying phase may also be called the yellowing phase, and the yellowing phase is because the green color in the raw bean is the moisture that's in the bean. And as we remove that moisture out of the beans start turning yellow in color. So the green color is moisture, we extract that, the beans turn yellow in color. And what a beautiful sight there. Those beans, as you mentioned earlier, there's a vortex that is created in the roast chamber, and those beans are moving around the roast chamber, and that is due to the placement of our perforated plates. There's more than one perforated plate at the bottom of the roast chamber, and they are twisted so that they cause a vortex in the roast chamber, that we get all the beans in the roast chamber lifted in that airflow, which is a column of heated. Rick, may we have a view of the LED screen there? You can go in. So we're almost 4 minutes into the roast. So my charts.
So what we're looking at here is the bean temp, the rate of rise, the element temp, the element's rate of rise, roast time, and then when we get to the first crack, we'll hit that little button down here. That's the interactivity part. And then the development time will start recording. And also down here, we have the readout of the blower percentage and the heater element, which are adjusted manually here. Now here's the real
Rick,
magic.
Rick, if I can just point out, it appears that there's a little bit of smoke coming off the beans at the moment in the light. I just want to mention that is not smoke. That is moisture that is being extracted from the beans and is extracted out of the roast chamber into the extraction hood. So that moisture doesn't steam the beans because it's extracted. So all that chaff as well, you can see it's been extracted out of the roast chamber. So all we're left with in the roast chamber is the coffee beans. All impurities, the dust in the beginning, chaff coming off the beans, the moisture coming out of the beans, all being removed from our roast chamber. 295. Okay. So yes, we are fast now approaching the next phase in our roast. You can see the color of the beans have changed, they're yellow in color. And we will now be going into the Maillard reaction. Maillard reaction is where the sugar starts activating in the beans, as I mentioned, carbohydrates, amino acids, other chemicals start activating now. And you can see that the beans are starting to change in color again. When the sugar starts caramelizing, the Maillard reaction, that is where we develop sweetness in our roast. And it is like putting a pan with sugar on a stovetop, and that white sugar starts turning caramel colors and tan colors and light brown colors and medium brown and dark brown and very dark brown. And then you taste that sugar and it's bitter. So it is up to us now to watch those beans and to get it to a stage where the sugar is still sweet. So we don't want to go too dark on our beans. We still want it to be sweet in our coffee. So yes, we have now entered the Maillard reaction, and we are working on the sugars in the beans and the sweetness of the coffee.
And there is the dance of Air-Motion Roaster, right there.
Absolutely. That is the other thing with this this roast process. It's interactive. You are quite interactive with your beans. I'm sure you guys could smell aromas initially of when we were in the drying phase, some bread, dough, and yeasty flavors. Now that we're in the Maillard reaction, there's some sweet pancakes and waffles, toasted waffles being the aromas of that is coming off those beans at the moment. Very exciting to look at. Right. Okay. Rick, if you go to the graph side, I just want to see the pink graph there. The pink graph is the rate of rise, and that has, through algorithms, it has gone up as it should, and it is declines through the roast as it should. That is done with algorithms. Our thermocouple in our roast chamber that's monitoring our bean temperature is reading our bean temperature every half a second. And you can see little blimps in the rate of rise there. What that is doing is it is monitoring your the electricity coming in, and if there's a slight dip in electricity, or your elements are either stalling from that dip in electricity, or if there's a spike in electricity and your elements would go up, that adjusts your elements every half a second so that it keeps your bean curve on a smooth curve. Your bean curve, your bean graph look like your rise graph, you would have defects in the flavor of the bean. So algorithms that have been built into the roaster have compensated for any electric dips or dips with the elements, or any spikes with the elements. Yeah, those algorithms have been built in. Once again, the machine knows how to roast coffee without it being gimmicky or yes. So we've those algorithms in there to smooth out the bean graph. So the next phase of the roast is our first crack, and that is when the heat has reached the center of the bean. And once the heat has reached the center of the bean, the last bit of moisture in the bean will expand rapidly and cause the bean to crack open slightly. It doesn't crack right open like popcorn, but there's a slight crack in the bean, and that gives off a popping sound like popping popcorn. And that is the next phase that we're going to enter. And then we go into the development phase of the bean, where that is where we develop the profile of the bean. Is it a light roast, a medium to dark roast, or a dark roast? So that's our development stage. We're at 417. Oh, 397. Okay, 203. Oh, I see we have pressed the first crack button. If we just go out a bit so I can see the values on the first cracks. It started at 390 degrees Fahrenheit. It started at 11 minutes, 11 seconds. We are 8.2%. That's our development percentage. That percentage is our development percentage of the total roast time. And then we are, how many minutes or seconds are we into that development stage? That usually lasts around 2 minutes or just over 2 minutes. We 1 minute 25. Our development stage is 1 minute 25. We're at 405. Sorry, I'm converting Fahrenheit into Celsius here. 405. Okay, doing well. We are doing well. Seven. There's a target temperature of 417 there, hey? 214. Okay, wonderful. At this point in time, you can see in the after the first crack that a little bit of CO2 does come off the beans. Some smoke does come off those beans. That smoke is once again sucked out of that roast chamber into our extraction hood, so that smoke does not infuse back into the beans, giving it that ashy, tarry taste that you could get if that smoke does infuse back into the beans. Once again, clean taste. All you taste in the end is your coffee and no impurities. There, the water comes on. If we can look just into the roast chamber at those beans are dry. I just want to explain this water dicing. We all know that water is an enemy to roasted coffee beans, and the purpose of the dicing is to not wet those beans and not to cool the beans, but to cool the environment above the beans. What that does is it causes a low pressure above the beans. So when the roaster turns off at its target temperature, it immediately turns the elements off and then dices the water. That means when the elements are off, cold air is going to come through our blower fans, through our element bank, and into our roast chamber and through our beans. That water dicing, as I said, causes a low pressure on top of the bean environment, and it causes the low pressure causes a suction to happen of the cold air coming into the roast chamber and through those beans, and it also sucks heat out of those beans. That is the reason why we dice. Not to cool the beans itself, to cool the environment, and it speeds up the cooling process. If we look at the touchscreen at the moment, you will notice that the rate of rise is in a negative rate of rise. You can see there on the beans, -12. On the heater, it's -55 or 53. So that means we have lost all the heat energy in the beans. They are not roasting anymore, and they are going backwards in temperature. We stopped at 417. The beans are already in the 300s there. So yes, where the target temperature was 417, the bean temperature is already at 385. So we're going backwards in temperature. There's no more heat energy in those beans. And very soon we make sure that those beans are in a definite negative rate of rise, and then we dump it into the cooling tray to finish off the cooling process in the cooling tray. So absolutely, what an amazing roast. There, Crystal is turning the handles 90 degrees. That one's 45 degrees. We still want some suction to come out the extraction hood while the beans are in the roast chamber. So we have now diverted the airflow from directly underneath the extraction hood to the cooling tray. So now the air is being sucked through the beans. The ambient air in the room is being sucked through the beans and into the cooling tray and through that ducting pipe and up into our cyclone. And then, yes, so all the beans are out of the roast chamber, and we've totally closed off the extraction hood to the roast chamber, and all the suction now is in the cooling tray, sucking that heat out of the beans and sucking ambient air through those beans, cooling them down as fast as we can, which is it is one of the most important aspects of roasting at the end of the roast, to stall those beans immediately and to cool them down as quick as we can, so that the roasting process has stopped, and getting them to a room temperature as quick as we can. And look at that, I can see that, and on the temperature, I think that is just a medium roast to me. I can see the color of the beans, and that would be an amazing profile for a specialty bean in particular. So here we're going to attach the destoner. Very impressive looking piece of equipment there. Rick, I need to put an order in for one myself. That's a nice toy. Wow, and then quite an easy attachment there. I suppose this would be attached ahead of time, but obviously with you guys walking around the machine with your cameras, you've chosen to attach it later, but that was great, because what an easy attachment. At this point in time, while Crystal is just waiting for those beans to get to the ambient temperature, or the cool temperature, She could be weighing out her next batch of beans, making a couple of notes, and so on and so on. And when you start doing that, the time between the batches go quite quickly. Crystal's quite happy with the temperature, and there she's discharging into her destoner. Wow, very nice. I just want to mention as well that with the traditional drum roasters, between roasts, they burn gas, but the LP gas, and because they need to get the roasters back up to their charge temperature. Where with our roaster, we cool the roaster down between the roasts. So at the moment, I imagine that the blower fans are on, and we're cooling that roaster down. Yeah, there we go. And that will get the roaster down to a decent temperature so that we can start our next roast. Why we cool the roaster down between the roasts is because if the roaster is too hot, then it would speed up the next roast, which we don't want to do. We want it to go through its different phases in the roast process, not too fast. We want to get nice development on our beans. Yeah, so... and that provides us a consistency as well, that we start each roast at the same temperature. So yeah, the roaster, as far as elements and electricity consumption at the moment is at its lowest. The agitator fans, they don't pull much energy at the moment. The elements are off. The elements are most of the energy that we use. So yeah, we cruising at the moment, or idling at the moment, with energy consumption. And yeah, we're cooling the machine down and prepping it for the next roast. There we're at 146 degrees. Yeah, we're ready. At that temperature, we're ready to start the next roast. So in that time, we can start the next roast and continue with our production. If we just look at that roast chamber, quickly again, I wanted to mention that with these roasters, absolutely, there is absolutely no maintenance required. There's no scraping out of the roast chambers. There's no oiling of bearings. There's nothing like that. That roast chamber, at the end of the roasting day, you take a cloth, you wet it with some water, and you wipe out your roast chamber, and that will be that'll take out any little residue left there, a little bit of dust that is left in the roast chamber, and you'll start the next day with a absolutely clean roast chamber, and that is all you need. And every couple of days, obviously your chaff collector, you just empty that, and that is it. So no maintenance required on our machines. There the beans come out. My goodness, that is absolutely amazing. I think we've just turned some green into gold. No stones? There we go.
And that's how we do it with an Air-Motion roaster.
Well, Rick, I just want to thank Crystal. She's an absolute master of her craft, and she has made me proud today. I couldn't do it better myself, Crystal. You are amazing. Well done. I'm emotional here. I'm almost in tears, seeing that my dream come true, and in such amazing hands. You have such confidence with that machine. It's almost as big as you.
Well,
And
it's a great machine.
the way you handle it is, yeah, absolutely, the way you handle it is absolutely amazing. And well done. Those look amazing, and I wish I was there to taste them. I will be there in April, so we will make an effort to come and visit you and taste some of that beautiful coffee. So,
Oh, great.
Well done, well done. We'll be there for the SEA show, and we will be there to taste your coffee as well. We'll come visit.
Get down there. I'll bring you some.
Thank you so much.
Very good. How far do you take it before you shut it down? How far do you take it before you shut it down?
I can turn it so you get. Oh.
Okay. All right. Very good. So she's not doing more than one roast, otherwise she would have just jumped right into the next one. So thank you so much. That was beautiful. The coffee smells amazing. It's as uniform as it can be. She didn't get any stones today on this roast, but they have reported, you can see the amount of coffee they run through this place behind us, and they were stating that they do get stones. So they are very appreciative to have something like that to stop that beautiful MPE from getting chewed up. So how was that? I mean, got some questions that have come in. They're not specific to the roast, so we can get back to them otherwise, but good stuff. Julian, have any final comments? Oh, we do.
As I said, I'm so proud of Crystal and her display and her operation.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you, Rick, from the bottom of my heart for setting this up. It is a real proud moment for me, and an absolute dream come true. You guys have done the roaster proud. And I just want to thank everybody on your team as well, Rick, the AMR team, for putting this together, for Kimberly and Christy and everybody, the effort that has gone into this. It's just mind-blowing and amazing. And your commitment, you and your team, and Crystal and Chris in the background. He's also in support there of Crystal. And everybody that has put effort into this, it's yeah, I'm at a loss for words here.
Oh, we appreciate it.
So, really,
she shut the roaster down, but here's the safety. One of the many safety features this machine has is it's still on its own, cooling itself down, which protects the coils, as I understand it. So she's got it off so I can continue here, but the roaster's going, I need a little bit more air. So all on its own, it's making sure that it's protecting itself.
That's correct, Rick. So we've put a safety feature in because we have to protect our blower fans for any heat going back from the elements to the blower fans. So I think we've set it on your machine to about 212 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you had to switch, the machine is on, but if you had to switch the blower fans off to zero, and temperature, I saw it was around 140 degrees Fahrenheit, but with the temperature still in the roast chamber and the metal, that latent heat has elevated to around 212 degrees. Your blower fans will come on automatically to blow the heat away from those blower fans, and it reminds you. And then what you do is just go up to the machine and just turn it up a bit so we can cool it down. At around 140 degrees, you can turn it off. It won't climb again.
Got it.
So yes, but yes, that is a safety feature, as you've mentioned.
Very good. We have a question. Are there any restrictions or mods required by local bylaw for the smoke exhaust? Restrictions or mods required by local, that would pretty much, I would state, be having to do with your jurisdiction specific to your area. We do know that way up in Washington on the West Coast and certain parts of California, it's extreme. You go out in the middle of Kansas or Arkansas, I think you can get away with a little bit more. But one of the unique features of this machine is that darn dilution. That's a patented design of the open chamber roast, that due to that dilution, the amount of smoke that comes out is minimal. Like I said before, on my 3 kilo, when I roast, medium to dark roast, I rarely ever see any smoke, and the smell of coffee is there, but it is nowhere near as pungent as when I'm roasting on my 3 kilo drum machine, which is rare now.
Yes. So each state will have their own bylaws on emissions, and also depending where you are. If you're in a more rural or a industrial site as opposed to a retail site in a city center, Rick, you do have an emissions report. And one can present that to the local authorities, and they can have a look at our emissions report. We've actually got a 48-page emissions report, and if it doesn't satisfy them, then I suppose one can. But I just want to mention, with the couple of 100 roasters that we have delivered to clients, and we've got one in Edinburgh on the high street. There where the ducting comes out on top of the shop window, and they have residents above them in residential apartments. They do not have any form of afterburner attached to their roaster. And in fact, that subtle smell of coffee that does come out there, not pungent, subtle, is an advert to the neighborhood. And from 4 blocks away, it's like a bakery. You can smell that freshly baked bread. it's an attraction. And as soon as they start roasting, their coffee shop fills up with people, and that's their busiest time. So, but to answer that question, we've got emissions reports, and that can be submitted to the local authorities, and we can take it from there.
Got it. I think this other question that came in might have something to do with your what you were telling me a little earlier about what's coming. That you said when you show up here in Houston, we'll be able to debut it. So we got to make some signage for it. But this one says, do you know where they can get training on artisan programs specific to the Air-Motion Roaster?
Right. So yes, I had a chat with you. It was yesterday evening. We are developing our own software program. So we have looked at Artisan and we've looked at Cropstar, and all the best features from those programs, plus more that we're going to add. We are currently building our own software program, so we won't be reliant on any of those external software programs moving forward in the new year. And yes, we will definitely be ready in April. And we are also looking at those people that have purchased a roaster before then, that we will have a plugin that we will be able to upgrade your roaster to our software program when that is launched. We have to keep we have to keep up with AI and the trends with AI and the way things are moving. I am totally against fully automated roasters. I like the interaction, and that is how all our roasters like to roast. They would never like to just press a button and walk away from the machine. However, our first step with our own software, and then from there we will look at more AI interaction with the roaster, moving the roaster forward with this technology, but not ever losing that appeal with being interactive with your roaster and having full control of over your roast at any point in time.
Gotcha. Well, good. We're doing well on time. I wanted to recap a little bit about what we just experienced in respects to the machine. I got a slide here that I've got to put up for us. So the AMR machine that we just went through, the machine is all electric. So there's no fuel, no hydrogen sulfide in the beans, which is a byproduct of propane and natural gas. And I have been understood the little coffee roaster bean is like a sponge. So it does take in the air around it, and when you're pushing fuel through it, there's all kinds of a spirited conversation to be had about what happens after that. Meaning simply that there is degassing that does take place, but when you're running an electric machine like this one, that's not even in the cards. So pure clean roasting. The control of the heat on this is instantaneous and precision in how it's controlled, as opposed to, for instance, a drum machine, which is loaded with energy because of the heat, and the more cast iron that's in that drum, single wall or even dual wall, you just have to predict that and work with that. The AMR machine is just, it's just an instantaneous response as to how you work with the heat and the air. It's very unique in how it works. The roaster moves on a chassis, which allows open chamber roasting. Now, you just saw what we were doing. I had my face in my camera directly over the roaster when our beans were at 400 degrees. And you're experiencing the smell, the sight, the whole senses being entertained versus looking into a little hole through a sight glass, or in some cases in today's world, I understand there's now a machine that's completely encased and it has a camera that is shooting at the beans. So you're actually watching your beans through an LED screen, which I have my thoughts about that. So anyway, extreme high chaff extraction. You saw the chaff just being inhaled off the beans, which again means a super clean roast. You don't have chaff in your, well, you have much less chaff in your grind when you're done. You're never going to get it all out due to the fact there's some inside the bean, obviously. But you saw that chaff being lifted up and out, and that just one more time means clean roasting. The exhaust temp, that is just mind-blowing to me. 115 degrees, 110 degrees. I have had my face in front of the exhaust 150 millimeter pipe when my roast is at 410. And it's the reason why is the dilution of the machine and how it is patented designed to inhale around the circumference of the chamber. And that has a lot to do with what our documentation states on our emissions. Very low servicing on this machine. I mean, the servicing on it, I don't even know what to say. There's no servicing on it per se. There's only 3 moving parts on the roaster. You've got the cyclone motor up on the top, which is an incredibly powerful, strong, and top-of-the-line motor that's been put up on those machines. The air blower motors in the front that blow into the chamber, and then you've got your agitator arms. That is about it. So there's very, very, very low servicing needs. Maintenance, same thing. You wipe the chamber out between the sessions. That is about it. You wipe the roaster off. The chamber's cool down. You wipe it out with a wet cloth with water and keep it nice and stainless steel beautiful. That's the end of it. There's just really no other maintenance. You certainly don't have to go in and open up your ducting and clean it out or have a chimney sweep service coming and doing that. And I think Julian sent me a picture one time of a 3-year-old AMR12 machine or a 3 machine where it had been running roasts through it for 3 solid years, and all it had was a nice light gray, light white color. But there was certainly no buildup of oil or chaff. I have in my career of way over 1,000 machines being sold, used machines. We've seen some pretty incredible situations upon machines getting to their new owners and opening up cooler venting and fans. You don't have to worry about that with an AMR. LCD touch panel for roast tracking, you saw that. Julian just mentioned how we're going to be moving into our own systems for that. There's a whole back end on it as well we didn't get to that has the settings for the individual setup on the machine. Go here to my next slide, the LCD. The water dousing feature, that again creates this atmospheric change above the chamber when the water comes down. It does not hit the beans like a water quench. My experience in hearing from technicians and roasters, sometimes people put water into their roast for 3 reasons. They want to make sure there's no fire. They want to increase the volume of the actual bean. And what's the third one? Volume of the bean, preventing the fire, and cool down. Yeah, the cool down. Ours is a mist that goes above it, creates an atmospheric change, and allows the chamber to cool down quicker, because the goal is between your roast, when the beans drop into the cooler, we want 2, 3, 4 minutes of cooling of the beans and simultaneous your chamber resetting itself so that you have a consistent roast when you start back up. So that's what our water dousing feature. It is optional, but the majority of our roasters use it. Traditional bean cooler size and function. Some of the air roasters out there, they just have a side tray. They just drop it out into the side, and maybe there's a little redirect of something here or another motor. Our machine, you can redirect your entire power of your cyclone right into that cooler, which takes that those bean temps right down as fast as you can. And as you heard what Julian was saying, one of the most important things in the roast. You hit your development target, you want your bean to stop roasting, and the way to do that is to cool them down. The chaff can, it's on the back of the cyclone down at the base, it pops right off. You can get 8, 10 roasts through this thing because internally in the cyclone, it pulverizes the chaff. So when you open up a look at the actual can, it's actually dust. It's chaff dust. It's not big pieces like traditional roasting. Easy access on the electronic components and breaker panel for any servicing. That's right there on the back. It pops open. There's breakers across the top. Just very, very simple and super accessible. The plug and play parts, this is where I was mentioning, I've installed now a whole bunch of these machines here in the United States. And when we pop them out of the crates, they're up and running in 30 minutes as long as the hole's in the wall and the electrical's ready to go. There's just not a lot of There's just not a lot of hassle beyond that point. And then the other inherent safety features, there are lots of them in the AMR machine. Split breakers up on the 12K for the blower motor, so if one goes down, the other one stays up. Lots of great stuff like that in this machine. So very, very amazing roaster that you've created, Julian. And we are so excited to keep watching it expand, and we're looking forward to next year to all the things that you're going to be doing in respects to bringing it on board with, I guess, the AI part. That's fun. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen there. Very good. Any final comments?
Yeah, I just need at the end of the roast day the roaster to make me a gin and tonic, so I can. I'm looking on how we can add that feature to the roaster.
Wow.
Or a coffee martini.
Coffee martini. Oh, there's the chat. She's
There's
showing
the chat
right there.
There we go.
Yep. Awesome stuff.
And
hi guys.
let me just tell you that chaff that has come out of there, you take that and you put it into your garden, into your flower beds and all that. It makes the most amazing compost.
Right.
Julian, Rick, do you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, Julian, it's me, Mohsen. How are you doing?
Hello, Marcin. Yes, I was talking about you earlier and the test roast that we the training that I do with you 2 days ago, and the excitement that I saw on your face.
Yeah. All right. It's 11:20 at night here, so I'm just laying down a little bit.
Okay.
So sorry for the camera is off. I'm trying to chill a little bit after all these exploring with the Air-Motion. I just have a quick question.
Yes.
Okay, so I found something really interesting. Like as you mentioned, I heard it that we want to start the roast with the low temperature as an inlet temperature.
Yes.
And we not as slowly, but not also fast. In the medium pace, we increase the temperature and we start to develop the roast. Just the question is it possible to bring the element on a specific temperature? Let's guess like on a Celsius 350 degrees, and then add the coffee inside the roast chamber and start the roasting.
No, if you had to get your element temperature up to 300, and we're talking about Celsius, yeah. So 350 degrees. You put your beans in; those beans are going to go up in smoke. They will burn.
All right. So what's the maximum peak of a temperature that we can start the beans roasting with it?
I would say around 80 degrees centigrade. Even if you go to 100, there's a chance that your beans at the bottom of the roaster would burn. This technology and this process, we don't require it to be. We don't require your roast chamber to be preheated, because you must have noticed that the heat goes up very fast. It's the heat transfer is very efficient, and the buildup of heat is very fast. And if we do not take it up gradually like that, and we will burn our beans. We have done tests on that. If we heat the roast chamber up to over 100 degrees centigrade and then put beans in, it's very likely that those beans are going to start smoking and burn.
All right. Okay. Just was
unfortunately, we have to get the
question.
drum roasting methods out of our head when we do this type of roasting. As you mentioned, turn it on our head. Drum roasting, you start from a high temperature and you go low. Here we start from a low and we go high. But
because you know what's going on in my head. Like Air-Motion is absolutely fabulous to roast naturals, honey, anaerobic CMs. I don't know, double anaerobic, these new yeast infused everything of the coffees. I didn't get the chance yet to roast a very classic, old, fully washed processed coffee with it, because in those cases you need a very high peak pressure to get that delightful flavor out of the coffee. So I was curious. It's just like, theoretical. Yeah,
Absolutely.
to put and yeah,
Give
to
it
put
a
that.
bash. Give it a bash and let me know. Take it a little bit higher at the end of the roast.
Yeah,
But,
I'm trying to I just got it, and as a curiosity, I just want to boost it up. All right. It was an absolute honor to be here. Peace, guys.
And thank you for joining. Thank you for joining.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
I have somebody else asking a question about the electrical supply.
Yes.
So correct me if I'm wrong, the 12 kilo that we just roasted on, they asked if it was a standard dryer circuit, 220, 30 amp. No, the 12 kilo machine with this design, it runs on 480 triple phase, and it wants 42 amps. Is that a correct number, 42? I think so. Per leg.
Yes, per leg.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The 6 kilo, now you can get that in a 480 or a 220. The 220 will be triple phase, and I believe that amps are about the same. Your 3 kilo, you get that in a 220 single or a triple, and the single, I know for a fact because I have a pair of those in stock, are 56 amps. 220 single phase, so that guy will easily fit in the shops where they do not have 3-phase power, which is why we have them here. They're great entry-level machines.
Rick, I just want to mention with the amps, when we ask to install circuit breakers, we try and increase the circuit breaker by about 20%, so that we have a little buffer there in case there's a spike of electricity in the building or whatever, or on switch on, which there might be a spike for a second only, so that we accommodate that spike. But we don't run to our maximum amps. So yes, when we ask for a 56, we don't run at 56 amps for 12 minutes while we're roasting. It's just on startup when everything goes on together, and then it comes down, and especially you're turning down. And when I stretch roast and all that, I turn elements down as well. I actually go back by 10%, and then I go back by another 10%, and then by another. So I end up roasting at 70% power on my elements. So absolutely. So when we ask for that peak amperage, it's just a buffer in case there's a spike, but we don't run at the peaks.
Right. So on the Air-Motion Roaster sites, we have on the USA site all of the specifications right here in the drop down. You just choose the machine that you're looking for, go down to the specifications area, and it'll open up and tell you right out of the gate what kind of power. Again, that 6 kilo will run either 240 or 480, and the 480 obviously is going to pull way down on the amps. The 240 wants 56 amps. These are not, the cost per roast, we calculated at one time, it was shocking. It was like 11, 12, 13 cents in total power to do a roast. It's just the design of the machine's power is so well done versus, more flimsy coils or other ways to do it, they just want so much power. The response is just completely different. So, yeah, good stuff. All right. I think that's all I got. So we're coming up 11:50 or 1:20. Yeah, so we're about ready to go. Any last comments, Julian? We done?
No, absolutely. Once again, you guys have made me so proud. And what an amazing display this evening. I wish I was there to taste the coffee, but I roast here all the time, so I know what the end result will be. And I just want to thank you and the team so much for all your efforts that you've put into this. And I've hope I hope that we've sparked some interest with our guests out there that have come on, and I want to thank them for coming on and witnessing. This is an amazing technology and the future of air roasting in the world. And we've just started. We've just started with this machine. I eat, sleep, drink 24/7 with this machine. And yes, it's just going to improve and improve and improve. And it doesn't have to. The science of the machine is it will be the same because it works. It's just certain efficiencies and features such as software programs and all that we're going to add to it. But it makes amazing coffee, and you know that, Rick. You know, and just thank everybody that has come on and has been involved in this amazing display of this wonderful roaster. Yeah,
thank you so much for your time. And I know it's late Sunday night there, so we appreciate it. We're excited to see the 12s and the 6s that have recently been selling here eventually get commissioned. I'm going to make those flights into those states to help them get those guys set up and get them commissioned and trained on them. So exciting times. So thank you much, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So in finishing up, we'll be sending out the coffee that was roasted on an Air-Motion Roaster next week, and if you put your address in that form, we will get you a bag of the Air-Motion roasted coffee. Now, if you're interested in taking a harder look and acquiring one of these machines, note we've still got a couple of them in stock from our last container load from South Africa. They're right here in Austin in our facility, and they're ready to ship. So if you're interested, get a hold of us. And if you're going to buy anytime very soon, especially from this live broadcast, we're going to give you a special offer that we're going to include domestic freight on your purchase. The international and getting it here across the water is already included, but we'll also include the domestic on an LTL transport, which is a substantial savings, believe us. So we offer competitive financing as well. We got a beautiful system on our site, 16 direct lenders that compete for your business. And don't forget about the tax code section 179 that allows for full depreciation write-off, all in the same year that you purchased the equipment. So we'll send you an email next week to this broadcast so you can share it with your friends. And lastly, stay in touch with us on social media to see what we're up to, and come by and see us in April 2025 at the SCA show in Houston. We're right over there by the competition booth. We're so excited, and Julian's coming on over from South Africa to join us and help us out. So that's it. Thank you for spending your Sunday afternoon with us. We look forward to connecting soon. Thanks.